To have oats, because once straw is baled, it's broken up into bits and it doesn't hang properly when it's sewed afterwards.
But in my time there was about 5 wrans, I would say. There was a Gore Street wran, you see, and there was the Key wran, and there was the Garee wran, and there was the Green and Gold wran, and there was a football wran in my time, a football wran, we'll say wran, and the John Street wran.
We lived just about 3 miles from Dingle, and we were in the same parish as well. But actually the day of the wran began the evening before, and the locality was actually more important than Dingle town on that particular night. But then on the following day, that is St. Stephen's Day itself, the day of the wran, a lot of us went into Dingle just to see it, others went in to take part in it, and we all enjoyed it anyhow. It was a very wonderful day.
If you come into Dingle that day, you imagine the town is a different setting completely. All the public houses, all the streets, you have all the wrenboys there, and it's very hard to visualise actually without actually taking part in it.
That was not a powerful day making the straws. Lots of pints of porter going in and everything else, and getting ready the hobby horse, you know. That was a work of art, the old hobby horse, you see. There was a nice frame, and there was hoops, barrel hoops, wooden hoops, put around his chest. You see to round him off in the front, and around his rump, you see to round him off there, and there was hoops along the top of the frame. And they had a tail made from old rope, and they had a mane taken from a real live horse. And they made the head is in there, I'm sure somebody you should see it. But this head would open and close its mouth and turn around and everything else, you know. And a lovely white sheet over it, you see. And it was tacked up around his neck, the horse's neck. And the horse was lying down there, you see. We went up to look at the horse to see was it coming on all right. And that was lying down, the old horse, the old head thrown down. But we got a young fella to get in underneath it, you see. And it came to life, you know. Pranced around the place, and the head was shaking, and you see, and chasing the girls and all this kind of stuff. But real life horse, you know, a hobby horse. Beautiful.
Yeah. Go in and leave it inside in the bar.
Being captain, say, you're probably responsible, say, for seeing that everything is in order before the wran, and particularly the day of the wran, that the banner is in order, that you have the banner with the street name written across it, Sráid Eoin, and that you have the hobby horses ready, or the sheet ready, and that there's a proper person to carry the hobby, that you have people to carry the banner, that the straws are made, suits of straws, that if there's any effigy or any wran car involved, that you have that prepared, and then that you'll be responsible, say, for encouraging people to take part in the wran.
It was beautiful taking the run around the town, you know. When you were captain, you got to follow them all in outside the store here, you know. This was the headquarters, actually, the John Street ran. And we fell in outside there with our pipes. Actually, 5 syndromes at that stage. We hadn't the pipes, the bagpipes at all. It's the fife and drums, and we went off around the town, you know. And of course I was the captain with my sword, you know, and shouting out, left, right, left, right. And they all keeping the step along, up, of course, you know. And all around the town, down the quay and up again, yeah. And we finished off up here. That was taking out the wren at that stage, you see.
My first recollection of the Green Gold Wren, it took place, there was a wren that was organised above in the Forge. Well, it's the Forge still there now, but it's the Forge restaurant, but the time that the Forge, the Gower was there. And that's where their headquarters were. And I always remember that they made, as they called it, a stunt, and they had a mermaid. And I was really delighted watching it come down, totally down there, Bridge Street. And you had, first of all, you had the banner, you had the hobby horse, and in the middle you had this float, the mermaid. And you had then behind that, and you had the fives, 3 fives, and 1 drum.
Go on the back there, hold on a second. Go on the back, 1 minute, down first the bridge. Right.
Normally the thing was that the 2 rows, the marsh behind the banner, and the captain stood in the middle where he kept and the straws were in the back of the wren. You had the hobby to the front and the banner. And, you know, you had from maybe 50 to 100 participating in the wren. Wrens years ago were much more disciplined. You know, that the captain of the wren was the captain in the sense of what he said went. Now you have a lot of people, the wrens day, what we call floating to. They spend a while with our wren, they spend a while with the green and gold, or possibly with the ghostly wren. They just go around for the crack in themselves, and that's fine as well.
In my youth, it is about 55 years ago, I remember there was a great crowd of us around at home. And the young people certainly would not be allowed at all to go in the big wren. And in my locality, that would be the Burnham area, Burnham and Ballymore. They had their own wren on one occasion, and I think performed quite well in Dingle. But normally a select group would be admitted. And actually, I think they followed the John Street Wren more than any other crowd because, well, that was regarded as, you know, the most prestigious, I think.
Well, the wren tradition, as we know it in Ireland, is part of a much wider European tradition. Certainly there are pre-Christian elements involved in it. This idea, for example, that people dress up in fantastic costumes and they indulge in general revelry, and there's a certain element of boisterousness involved in it. This is to celebrate the end of season festivity. The Christian explanation, however, tells us how St. Stephen the Martyr was being hunted by the Romans, and he hid behind a furze bush. So the wren came along then, and he sang on top of the furze bush, and thus he gave the game away. In former times, people used to carry a holly bush or a furze bush, and tied to this bush would be the body of the dead wren.
The wren is in Dingle as long as I remember. There were not as many wrens in the town when I was young as you have now. Now they wear expensive clothes and masks, and there is a wren in every street, and the children have wrens themselves, and the girls go out in the big rans. They'd have a dead ran hanging from a holly bush on a long pole. They had no couple born in the beginning. That came later. They'd have had 2 or 3 ownshachs dressed as old women. Now they wear all sorts of costumes and far more expensive. Perhaps they'd get a donkey and cart and bring it with them and dance in the cart on the street. Last St. Stephen's Day, we had 4 rans here. I gave the first 4 shillings and the others half a crown each.
During that Ran's Day, you know, the town was yours. You could do almost what you liked. There you were, but nobody knew you. And there you were, and you see, you chased the girls and everything. You know, there was people touched girls that day that never touched a girl in their life before. Honest to God.
Always a great rivalry when rans met, like one going up the street and the other coming down. And the big thing was not to be forced to go under the banner. Like the banner was held across the street. So there was a lot of pushing and a certain amount of, not friendly rivalry, like to ensure that the ran would actually maintain the banner above the other one.
There was rivalry one time, definitely, like that. See, when money was scarce, like if you had a ran, we'll say, the outside ran, we'll say, and just for argument's sake, the K ran, if they were just ahead of you collecting or something, you always made sure you kept your own territory. But there was an understanding like that you didn't go ahead of another ran, like you left the street clear for them to look after that. And if we happened to meet, we'll say, at certain public houses and things, there was a couple of occasions, all right, where they had words and a few occasions that they came to, they fought. But money is you know, plentiful nowadays, and everyone is pretty well off. And that one time when we went out, the money aspect of it was important because the people who participated, you know, got a divide of the money. Might be very, very small, but it meant a lot to them because money was scarce. Nowadays we'd even get individual contributions of £10, and when the money would be divided up afterwards and when debts would be paid, like a lot of the people who get, would say, the price of a dance or something, you know, the folk, they wouldn't even bother coming for it, they don't want the money.
They'd be saying, you see, after a few pints, mostly, up Sráid Eoin, you see, Sráid Eoin, you know. We never died of winter yet, you see. And they all drink this time coming in the end of the run. And the devil wouldn't kill us. And they had all those cat's cries, you see. And I remember one time there was a doctor up there, we used to call him, he was a vet actually, we used to call him Dr. Dag. And we went in one day, Sir Oran went in anyway, I remember that, and God, there was a beautiful chicken inside in the kitchen. Oh, you know how we got in, because they're usually looking at you, you see, mind them. That chicken disappeared as quick as light, and we were all eating it down along the road, you know, yeah. We could do those things at that stage. I said the town was ours, you see, at that stage. Now, there was no blackguard or anything else like that. There was never any blackguard in my time, you know. There was no juvenile delinquents or anything else like that. The town knew it was ours. All the people knew it was ours. So the wrenboys, they had their money to give us, and they mightn't come out. The pubs were open all right. We was going to the pubs, you see, and have a few drinks, you see. But the remainder of us, they were up in the first story maybe, looking out, you see, and throw the money down to us, you see. But we always had to dance around, you know. Ho-ho, Donald Boo, you see, and all this kind of stuff, you know. Yeah.
I think there's probably a bit more money around than there was in my time. I remember going out myself, this was the whole day now. There were 12 of us in the land, we were young. and we travelled not in Dingle itself but outside it, and what we collected was 5 and threepence, and there was a tough day, you know, and but now of course to be in the £100.
We were looking for a white hope in Europe to beat, I think, Joe Louis, you see. Joe Louis was top man, a great fighter, you see. But they were looking for a white hope. So we were organising the Wren, and of course, Mikey Fitz, he didn't have to be his uncle there. Mikey Fitz, he says, we to get Johnny McKellick, he says, he was a man, we used to call him Johnny Eightabite, that was the nickname he had, Johnny Eightabite. He used to go out the country with an ass, and he used to collect spuds. He was living up in a lodging house above in the road there, you see. And he used to collect spuds and sell them around the place. But anyway, we approached him. Yeah. And he stopped like, oh, what do you want, you see? So we said, we want to put you on the Wren. He said, I don't go on the Wren at all, you see. Well, and we'll pay you so much, you see. And so we got him dressed up. Along white drawers, what do they call them, John L's. Long johns, and a singlet, and boxing gloves, you see, and all. And we taught him how to wind and go down in front of the Wren, you see. And he was on the road, and he was a big man. He was a strong man, you see. But that was all right. And we got to the nearest pub, you see, after we went around the town, and in we went, you see. And Johnny, what do you have, Johnny? I'll have a pint, you see. John, of course, they gave him a pint, you know, and he's drunk half it. He was talking to the lads, and there was a half a bottle of whiskey put into his pint. Well, glory be to God. He came out that door. He knocked banners, and the hobby horse he had to go and everything. And we had to calm him down and take him away. That was the end of Johnny Eightabite and the White Hope.
The Wren sort of petered out gradually, though there was a final sort of a tour of the town by every particular Wren, and then they retired to the various drinking places, and shall we say, drinking wells. And first of all, they had a few drinks which they badly needed, and then they had fun, dancing, singing. Mainly, though, I would say, in rather crowded situations, because at this stage all the activity was indoors, and all the pubs really were crowded.
When we'd finish off, that come in here and have a drink and count out the money. Then there'd be various people have to be paid. Like, there's a tradition that you pay the people who carry the banner. you pay the person who carried the hobby horse, you pay the musicians, usually fairly nominal, but you pay them. Usually the participants of the run, depending on their age. And if there was any money left in, and there was in, nearly always, to the tradition that you might have a ball night. There are changes in that scene also, that a lot of the money of late years, that it's given, we'll say, to some local institution and local charity. The Dingle Wrens have an unbroken tradition going back, as far as we can say, a couple of 100 years. They're also distinctive in their organisation, that they're totally different, we'll say, to, what you hear of Wrens outside of here, where groups come together and form a type of cabaret scene. The Dingle Wren has a totally different tradition, it's carried out in a totally different way. And it's, I suppose the large numbers who participate in it are probably unusual, because anyone coming into Dingle can see the whole town is involved. And the whole town, practically the whole town, participates direct or indirectly. There's people, say, who may not be out in the Wren, but who would have helped in the background with providing material and uniforms and, say, oaths and assistance in various ways. It's so much part of the life of the community, and it's talked about for weeks prior to that. I don't know any other way really where you have the same type of festival, the same type of spirit involved in it.